What's up, guys? So I finally figured out that you can connect two MacBook Pros, put them on the same network without actually using a router. So you just need a Thunderbolt to Ethernet adapter and get one, put one on both ends so you can connect them together. Just plug them into one another. Disable your wireless for a second, go and open up network preferences. And here, what you want to do is, first of all, just connect to a Thunderbolt connection, but then configure your IPv4 manually. And this is the trick in order for them to see each other. So you're gonna put in this information into it. This is basically template IP and subnet information. So your IP can be this. On the other computer, I made my IP one number different from it. So this one has 101 at the end. Subnet mask, as far as I know, these 255s just basically give an increased bandwidth to this thing, so I added a third 255 there, but I'm not totally sure what that does. I'm just kind of going with it. And then router is basically the same as the IP minus the last two numbers, and the router can and probably should be the same for both of these. So yeah, once you do that, then you just have to set up a network in your audio MIDI studio here. And then connect both computers to the same network, and you're going to be good to go.
Awesome, that's great. So they see each other in the.
This next step is going to take a few minutes, so you may want to pause and let us connect.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. All right. So when you have the two computers connected and on the same Ethernet network, with data input manually, you can then create and connect them to the same MIDI network. Go into your MIDI studio and go into the MIDI network setup. And generally you want to create a session and then connect to one or the other computer. Here we connected to this other computer called Spongletron 3.1 Visuals. And after connecting to it, we see the list of participants. So Pulse to the Wall is connected, and we see that our latency is pretty good here. So what I'm doing is I am now sending a MIDI message, a few notes just to see if we have a connection going, to the network called Spongletron 3.1 MIDI Visual. Right, so that is supposed to go from this computer via the Ethernet cable and into the slave computer. And here, because we are somewhat stably connected to this network, we see that some data is going through. Our latency is pretty close to 0, so that's pretty good. And we can test it really quick by going into Arena and seeing the network session 1 here. It's called network session 1 because this is what we called it in our MIDI network setup. So we're connected to it, and just to be sure, we can go into our mapping, edit composition map, select a clip, and you see the note changing here. That means our MIDI is going through it stably. And also we're sending a clock with it. You can tell that by these numbers that are changing.
Oh, you gotta go out of mapping mode.
Yeah, but our BPM is also synchronized between Ableton and Resolume.
And we actually had to pause and replay Ableton to get the tempo to latch on. So,
and just a quick piece of advice: you want to set your clock input to switch to manual on stop. Otherwise, the Ableton computer will determine when all clips stop playing in Resolume, and you're not going to be able to get them to start playing until you start the clock in Ableton. So, but if you switch to manual on stop, then you just manually take over when the clock stops. It's kind of a more expected behavior. So there you go.
And just one other note, going back to the network preferences right here, this one flips people up every now and then. Oops, not that one. We're going over here, okay. Now, you will see the other computer from this window on both computers, and you just want to connect one to the other. And in this case, we've got this computer called Pulse to the Wall connecting to the Spongletron computer. But over here, we did not copy that same connection. We just let that guy connect. So,
another important thing, there's a ton of little tiny details that will get you. On the live routings here, you can see this in the MIDI network setup. Check this out. So the live routings should both be blank. On the input and the output, just leave it blank. Otherwise, you can start having some MIDI feedback. So that's important to leave blank on both computers, as far as we figured out anyway. And then let me really quickly show you the MIDI setup in Ableton Live as well, because that needs to get set up as well. So you go into your preferences, you go into your MIDI preferences, and just make sure the output on the Spangletron 3.1 or whatever it is that you're connected to is set to on. And we are sending the sync, we're sending the track. We don't necessarily need the remote, but I just left it on just to see if all the messages are going through. So yeah, that's that.